Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Jerry, and you have reached my channel in the middle of the forest, where I discuss a wide variety of topics while being transplanted from a major metropolitan city to work towards retirement in the middle of the woods up in northwestern Wisconsin. And the reason that I say is working towards retirement is my husband had decided that we were going to move up north 15 years ago, approximately. And he was going to retire, so therefore we both retired. Now, I did the real estate thing, going back and forth selling major metropolitan real estate throughout southeastern Wisconsin and even up through my area. But I decided, once we've been here, that selling farmland and the expression meets and bounds wasn't really quite what I wanted to practice in real estate. So I decided to get a job just to get out of the house and do something light. Searched through a company called Manpower, a home office located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and got what I thought was a part-time job. Well, almost 15 years later, here I am, still going to work. I like it a lot. It's very light assembly. It's an extremely clean factory. There's politics, but of course, and I don't mean politics insofar as Democrats and Republicans, that's a politics, no. Gossip, small town gossip. You'd think that being up north in a small town, that it would be a friendlier type of huggy-feely, but that's not the case. But I digress. Let's talk about the topic of the day, divorce. Now, the reason I picked divorce as a topic is I just found out that someone that I work with was getting a divorce, and they were married for the last over 30 years. So it kind of surprised me, it kind of shocked me. I look at it this way. Shoot, you're married to somebody for so long. What's the point of getting a divorce? You know what I mean? You're used to each other. Why go out? Now, biblically, the only way that you can get a divorce is for adultery. I had a psychologist once tell me when I was going through my divorce that abuse is a form of being biblical to get out of a divorce, shall we say, physical or mental abuse. You know, when you hear the word abuse, you think, uh-oh, their spouse is beating the daylights out of them. But sometimes it's mental abuse too. It's not always physical abuse. So I don't know the backstory, but I just wanted to do a topic on the word divorce and the topic of divorce. Tell you maybe a little story or two. Both Jack and I are divorced. Jack was married and had 3 daughters when he was divorced. I too was married and had my one and done, one child, who's now 35 years old, with my ex-husband. My ex-husband had an adulterous relationship, and that was my biblical out. I was totally taken aback because of how he preached. Oh, it's going to be forever. In the Bible, what God has joined, let no man cast asunder. And I'm going to be married for you for the rest of my life. So you could have blew me over with a feather, but it was reality. And when Jack and I met, of course I had my walls up. I listened to him. He said all the right things. And of course I trusted him. I shouldn't say of course. I trusted him. Now, do we have our disagreements? Yes. Do we sometimes not talk to each other? Yes. But there has to be a certain amount of respect in a relationship. Jack told me a story about a couple that he knew. And the couple was a guy that he was a truck driver with him. And he came home for lunch in the middle of his lunch hour, and his then wife, Jack's friend, his then wife, was in the bedroom with a strange man, hence adulterous relationship. I don't think that individual is as biblical, shall we say, as I am, but it's a reality, it's a story. Another story about somebody that Jack knew, a person that owned a truck and he leased it out, and Jack drove for him, a subcontractor for him. And this individual was married, and he and his wife decided to separate. Now, this married individual, I'm at a stop sign here. This married individual, he found a girlfriend. And the girlfriend and him, of course, started shacking. And the wife found out about it, but they were old, meaning they weren't spring chickens and they weren't just married for the last handful of years. They were an older couple. She, the real wife, this is kind of weird to say this, but she allowed it to happen. She went about her way, did her thing, moved up north, and he and the girlfriend decided to shack together in Milwaukee, and that was okay for them until the time came when he was getting older and he had asked her to marry him, and they got married later in their life, and she collects his Social Security in addition to hers, and it is what it is. But I was absolutely taken aback when Jack told me about that story, those two individuals. First off, why would a woman allow it? She had biblical reason to get a divorce. But moreover, the new girlfriend, what kind of person is she that she allowed this relationship to go on? Like I've said before, we are not supposed to judge. We're supposed to leave that up to God. Let God judge and sort things out, but we can't go and throw the Bible at people, shall we say, and beat them over the head with biblical truths, because people don't like to hear that. But these stories and mainly they were truck driver stories, and I think a lot of these truck drivers that drive these what does Jack call them, glitter wagons, all glittered out with the lights, they just think they're some kind of a big shot sitting up high in the Peterbilt or the Kenworth and living their lives large. But the truth of the matter is, who wants to drive from point A to point B and not want to be home with some type of semblance of family and order and eating truck driver food? Many of his friends have passed away because of poor diet, heart attacks. Poor diet encompasses that. The lifestyle is terrible. You rarely get any sleep. Jack used to say that he even would get truck driver vitamins to allow him to drive from the East Coast to the West Coast with a partner in a day. Insanity. But that's what they did to get the loads across. So he told me about truck drivers that, let's be frank, have carnal desires. So even if they're married, they would stop at what Jack called the proverbial pickle parks and find a hooker. And, well, you can fill in the blanks at that point. I don't need to expound. Well, that's infidelity. So the gentleman, where he came home, why am I even calling him a gentleman? The guy, when he came home and found his wife in bed with another man, he never got married again because of trust issues, no doubt. But all of his life, he's hired hookers because of his carnal desires. So we're not animals. Generally speaking, everybody knows this. Men think with their eyes. Women think with their heart. But respect. What about the respect for himself? He's lacking respect for himself. As was the girlfriend of the married man that shacked with the married man while the wife lived in up north Wisconsin. Now, she eventually, the wife, the real wife, eventually died. That's why he got married to this lady, and then he just passed away, I don't know, within the last 5 years or so in Milwaukee, and we found out about it. But this world's just crazy. I am the type of person that can't understand why people have to, married people, we can't have disagreements. We have to be able to air our feelings out and speak to our spouses and discuss things. But there's people like Dave Ramsey out there for a reason, to make people think about Dave Ramsey. What's his specialty? Money and money expenditures. And maybe the husband's going off and gambling, or the wife. The door swings both ways. Or maybe the wife's going out and buying furs, or he's going out and buying cars and motorcycles. Eventually, everything comes to hit you in the head, and the truth will ultimately turn out. But you have to discuss with your spouse. You have to discuss the big things, the small things. There is no room for yelling. Nobody should be yelled at or yelled to. The only exception, I digress, is if there's a fire, or if your spouse is about to, I don't know, drive into traffic. Well, then you have to raise your voice, but you don't have to scream spit, shall we say. Just screaming that spit's flying out of your face, shall we say. So the times have been very, very, very tough these past 12 years. Ups and downs, upheavals. And a lot of people were faced with a lot of dilemmas. Physically, in Jackson, in my case, physical, my surgeries. He'll be having his back surgery. No thanks to my new surgery I'll be getting soon is the hip surgery. I wasn't expecting that, but you can't throw up your hands and say, uh-oh, she's falling apart. He's falling apart. Oh, let's get a divorce. That's insanity. Oh no, my husband can't please me in the bedroom, therefore I have to get a divorce or find a male prostitute, shall we say. No, that's you're giving into the carnal desires that is not right thinking. It's just not. Whew. So I am looking forward to more truths being revealed, a calmer next 2 years. 4 years, 8 years, 12 years to the betterment of society. And I know you guys are too. Enough of the shenanigans. So that's my divorce stories for this ride into work today, folks. Thanks for driving along with me. I appreciate it. I hope that your day is lovely, and we will talk this weekend. Take care, everybody. Cheers, y'all.